The distress beacon had been transmitting for 3 standard cycles when it finally reached the Galactic Council's monitoring station. Communications Officer Zilth, a methodical Vorian with crystalline skin that refracted the station's amber lighting, processed the signal with her usual efficiency. Her secondary eyes scanned the data while her primary pair focused on the holographic display. Another SOS from the Kepler 442 system, she announced to her supervisor, her translator converting her crystalline chimes into standard galactic common. Supervisor Thex barely glanced up from his work. The bulbous-headed Relian had seen countless distress signals in his 40 cycles of service. Origin: a civilian transport, the Harmonious Venture. Approximately 200 passengers, mixed species. They report engine failure and life support degradation. Zilth paused, her auxiliary eyes dimming slightly. They're in orbit around the 3rd planet. Thex's feeding tendril stiffened. The Death World?
The one the primitives call Earth?
Affirmative. A heavy silence settled over the monitoring station. Every officer present knew about Earth, the nightmare planet where everything evolved to kill. Gravity nearly twice the galactic standard, wildly fluctuating temperatures, atmospheric oxygen levels that would corrode most ship hulls, and native life forms so aggressive that the planet's apex species had conquered their own world through nothing but stubbornness and violence. Update their trajectory, Thex finally said, his voice carefully neutral. If they can maintain orbit for another 6 cycles, the rescue fleet from Proxima Station can reach them. Zilth's crystals flickered with concern. Sir, their life support is failing. They have perhaps 2 cycles remaining. Then I suggest they pray to whatever deities they worship. Thex returned to his console. We're not sending anyone into that system. It's not worth risking a crew. The conversation might have ended there, forgotten like countless other tragedies in the vast indifference of space, except for one detail that Zilth had overlooked in her initial assessment. The Harmonious Venture had broadcast their SOS on all frequencies, including the primitive electromagnetic band still used by pre-FTL civilizations. The humans had been listening. Captain Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UNSC Indomitable, her dark eyes fixed on the tactical display. Behind her, the rest of Earth's 3rd Fleet held formation, 12 warships that represented humanity's entire deep space capability. They were crewed by galactic standards, built from adapted alien technology that humans had reverse-engineered from crashed probes and discarded satellites. But they worked. Ma'am, we're receiving updated telemetry from the Harmonious Venture, her communications officer reported. Lieutenant Torres looked young, but then again everyone in Earth's Space Force looked young. Humanity had only achieved FTL travel 8 months ago. Life support is critical. They have maybe 30 hours. And the Galactic Council's response? Nothing, ma'am. They've gone silent. Chen felt a familiar anger kindle in her chest. The galactic community had made their position clear when humanity first announced their presence. Earth was a quarantine world. Humans were too violent, too unstable, too dangerous to join civilized space. The Council had politely suggested that humanity remain on their death world for at least another century before reapplying for membership. But they'd never said humans couldn't build their own ships. Helm, set course for Kepler 442. Maximum burn. Her executive officer, Commander Okonkwo, stepped closer and lowered his voice. Captain, this could be interpreted as an act of aggression. We're not exactly welcome in Council space. 200 people are dying, Commander. I didn't join this service to debate politics while innocent beings suffocate. She raised her voice to address the entire bridge. All ships, this is Indomitable Actual. We have a rescue operation. Prepare for combat acceleration. The 3rd Fleet surged forward, their fusion drives burning with an intensity that would have alarmed any galactic engineer. Humans had learned to push their technology past every safety margin, simply because they had no choice. Their ships were faster and more maneuverable than anything their mass should allow, powered by the same reckless ingenuity that had taken their ancestors from stone tools to nuclear weapons in the span of 10,000 years. Zilth was the first to detect them. At first she thought her sensors were malfunctioning. Nothing should be able to cross that much distance in so little time. But the signatures were unmistakable. 12 vessels accelerating at speeds that should have liquefied their crews, heading directly for the Harmonious Venture. Sir, we have incoming ships, designation, unknown. They're not using standard galactic transponders. Thex's tendrils turned pale. "Show me." The holographic display materialized, showing the approaching fleet. The ships were angular and aggressive, their hulls studded with sensor arrays and weapon systems. They looked like predators. "By the Founders," Thex whispered. "Those are human vessels." Panic rippled through the monitoring station. Every species in the galaxy knew the stories about Deathworlders, the creatures who evolved under crushing gravity, who breathed corrosive oxygen, whose bodies were dense with redundant organs and reinforced skeletal structures, and humans were the worst of them all, the only Deathworlders to achieve spaceflight through sheer bloody-minded determination. "They're going to attack the Harmonious Venture," someone said. "We left those people to die at the hands of Deathworlders." But Zilth was watching her tactical display with growing confusion. "Sir, the human fleet is slowing down. They're matching orbit with the disabled transport." On her screen, the human warships moved with surprising grace, their powerful engines throttling back as they approached the helpless civilian vessel. Zilth enhanced the visual feed, watching as armored figures emerged from the human ships, spacewalking with a casual fearlessness that made her crystals ache. The humans worked with brutal efficiency, cutting through the Harmonious Venture's damaged hull and establishing pressure corridors. Within one standard hour, they had evacuated every passenger and crew member, transferring them to the human vessels where medics waited with supplies and equipment. Commander Okonkwo appeared on the general galactic frequency, his image broadcast to every monitoring station within range. He looked terrifying, a tall, powerfully built human in military uniform, his dark skin marked with scars that spoke of survived violence. "This is Commander Okonkwo of the United Nations Space Command. We have successfully evacuated all personnel from the Harmonious Venture. All 217 beings are alive and receiving medical attention. We will transport them to the nearest council station." He paused and something dangerous flickered in his eyes. "We detected their distress call 17 hours ago. In that time, we traveled 42 light years to reach them. Where were you?" The transmission ended, leaving a silence that felt like an accusation. Zilth watched as the human fleet turned gracefully, their engines blazing with controlled fury as they accelerated back toward Earth's solar system. She thought about the casual way they'd spacewalked, the speed at which they'd traveled, the efficiency of their rescue operation. These were Deathworlders, yes, born in violence and raised in hardship, but perhaps that was exactly what made them heroes. "Sir," she said softly, "I'm updating the entry for humanity in the database. Recommendation: immediate consideration for council membership." Thex didn't argue. He was too busy watching the human ships disappear into the distance, carrying 217 lives that everyone else had been willing to abandon. The Deathworlders had answered the call that civilized space had ignored.